Oh, wow. Guess what? William F. DeVault is here, and he is going to be sharing his work with us. So I'm going to turn over the spotlight and microphone to you right away. So
Okay,
please go ahead.
go ahead. Wow. Uh, let's see. Do I want to introduce myself? No, I just want to read. I was told I have 20 minutes, so I sat down and I said, okay, I want to put together a set that isn't a normal set for me. More than half the poems I'm going to be doing are from my book Tachyon, which I'll tell you a story about when I get to it. But I'm going to start out with a poem I used to always open my sets with, which I used to do with as a call and response that I had written a bazillion years ago. I'm talking 1970s, called Goblins in My Attic. It's a short piece. In the depths of my depression, I find my self-expression increases geometrically to help me on my way. This creation is not static, as the goblins in my attic break down the walls to find the lights of day. I like to warm up with that. Now we're going to get to a group of poems from my book Tachyon. Tachyon's a strange little book. It was originally not supposed to be called Tachyon. It was supposed to be called Evangelist. And then my older brother had the extremely bad taste to die. And I wrote a poem about his passing, for my brother as he accelerates, in which I compared the spirit after death to a tachyon, something moving faster than the speed of light so no one could catch up with it. And so I renamed the book Tachyon. I'll not be doing that poem tonight. I didn't want to do anything that much of a downer, but uh, I'll open with a poem called I Shall Make of Your Flesh a Living Scripture, which is from Tachyon. I shall make of your flesh a living scripture of psalms of love, silencing Solomon and raising a new religion bound by passion, an earnest sharing of brave hearts, fire and light, the taste of you like roses and jasmine, the way you hold me in sacramental sacrifice, sacred as any prayer as you dare me to touch corners veiled by your need to bleeding colors for which there are no words. I have heard your chants and mantras, prepared a feast in your name, as I lay my hands upon the altar and draw the very venoms I have tasted in lesser vessels, vinegar and dregs of oil spoiled in mockery of joy. What do the dead know of life? What do the silent know of the sounds made when souls surrender to faith? Consecrate me, and I will lay a seed in the loins of memory. I noticed as I put this thing together, a lot of the poems in Tachyon, previously an evangelist, um, were about either the start or the end of romance. Um, this one is a strange little poem from Tachyon called Damn You for Awakening Me. Um, it it's about a woman I was involved with who, when I had decided I was not going to get involved with anybody anymore, and I do this every couple of years, I go, I've had it. I've had it. I've been through the ringer. I'm not going to do this again. Oh, hi. Yeah. Um, let's go. Damn you for awakening me. I'd slept longer than I had dreamt possible, and had accepted my fate as a sleep unto death. But you walked in and with a single kiss blew breath into these gray and shriveled lungs. I feel life. I'm alive. My heart, no longer merely beating because it can, hammers within my breast with the fury of creation, flooding my mind, my soul, my loins with the need to express myself in manners proper and necessary. Damn you for awakening me. I had surrendered to my prison and laid down to die, and you decided that you wanted to see if the legends were true and my wings were still able to blot out the sun as I wrapped you in them and carried you to the top of Mount Etna, to be ravished as to the legends I thought were myths, having lost my faith in the gods of love and their child, now a woman of comely form and wicked wiles, who dares to summon me from my tomb to fulfill our union. Damn you for awakening me. Your cries of passion and fear and tenderness burn away my doubts, and I am now more phoenix than Gollum. I am now more than hungry heat incarnate than thought. roaring my spells of summoning to draw you closer as we melt and merge. And the prophecies never told us what happens next. Beyond a general sense of happy ever after ending, our spark struck to burn eternal in the hearts of all brave enough to look up and see your beauty in the bowl of the sun, reborn as I am. Footnote to that poem, that relationship lasted only about 6 years. So every time it's, oh my God, I found it. um, as I was looking through Tachyon, I ran into some poems. I was like, wow, this is nuts. And here's one of the ones I said that about. It's called The Bitter Herbs. The bitter herbs taste better than with Kool-Aid, so I can wash them down and get another paper cup. And I tell myself that I can't taste the bitter herbs, but they were there. They left a strange sensation in my belly and smelled of cinnamon kisses and the color of your lips at an indecent distance. So I can say I took my wormwood, but I never really tasted it like I did your sweat, long nights trying so hard to say that for which there are no words, just the magic of your touch. Incendiary, and I need to be immolated, desecrated by your passions, given and received in the music box of memory, wet with our hungers, to feel anything, to taste anything, to know anything, for sure, forever. I'm waiting to hear people go, what?
What?
uh, I have fun going through my manuscripts. What drives me crazy is when I find a manuscript I'd forgotten I had. Um, I've published a lot of books, a lot of poems in a lot of books, and one person did an analysis of my catalog and said I've so far published about 7% of my writings. And I'm getting old enough, I'm starting to worry I won't get everything published before I die. Maybe I'll end up like Prince and just say, here's a vault of stuff I haven't released yet, and release it when you can after I'm dead. We'll see. I think this is the last one I'm bringing out from Tachyon. Let me triple check this. Yes, it is. All right. It is called Another Hollow Midnight. This was actually written in Venice Beach when I was very, very, very upset about a collapsed relationship. Um, and my mother used to say, when I got angry or depressed, I didn't throw a fit, I wrote a poem. And this demonstrates that. Another Hollow Midnight. These are the times when I wish I'd like the taste of that first cigarette. Something to do with my hands, my mouth, my money, besides sitting here like a deflated toy balloon to avoid pacing or curling up in the corner and finding solace in shadows. Another Hollow Midnight. It's not that she's not here, obviously, because the sheets are straight and there is no telltale outline of where she fell with me on top, finding my way. Another Hollow Midnight. It's that she chooses not to be here, and I can't argue with her logic because she's right. We make no sense at all. But that's the way the heart chooses to speak its mind. Another Hollow Midnight, reflecting on the cigarettes I never smoked, the memories I never had, and the dry air that swirls up around me, when it should be wet and clinging like lips and hips and hands, when lovers want something, something more, something true. Another Hollow Midnight. I think I'll write a poem and tell the world how it hurts like glass shards under my tongue, in my heart. And there are no ashtrays anyway, if I wanted to smoke. Just those mocking sheets where I laid the rose petals as if to summon her, when I knew the odds all along. I will write for a while, then lay down. Let the petals wither. Let my words ferment. Congeal and spoil before I flush them like used condoms from a prophylactic heart. Used to feel of latex instead of flesh, but hating it all the while. Romantics don't like the secret handshake of those who don't understand. Another Hollow Midnight. Interesting reference in there to rose petals. Uh, when we were trying to reconcile, I went out and I bought a metric F-ton of rose petals from a local flower shop. And knowing that she loved them and liked great romantic gestures, I spread them all around my apartment on Venice Boulevard and even covered the bed with them. And she didn't show up. And I slept on those rose petals that night. Very self-pitying, but at least I got a good poem out of it. Ah, man, reliving all my defeats. Um, Getting away from Tachyon for a while. Let's get to a couple interesting ones. This next poem is found in my volume Selected Poems and Passions, 1972 to 2011. If you knew me at the time, if you knew the people around me at the time, and yes, Lorna, I agree with you. A good poem is the best revenge. I wrote this poem when I was in transition between relationships. I'm defined by my relationships because the relationships fuel my inspiration. The inspiration fuels my poetry. The poetry is who I am. I sometimes say that I don't really exist as an entity. I'm a lens. And the light of inspiration passes through me onto the page, and that's the poetry. I don't care if people remember what I looked like. I do care if people remember what I wrote. And this poem is called Horizon. And it was one of half a dozen poems I've written over the years that I call a prophecy poem, because most of it was true at the time I wrote it, and the rest came true later, which drives me nuts. Again, it's called Horizon. There was a season when I was stronger, when days lasted longer and wind filled my sails. There was a reason for love's trial and error. Ghosts in the mirror were yesterday's tales. The winds now are memory, hope and illusion. Pain and confusion inherit my gold. But I shall live on the crust stained with jelly, filling my belly with morsels and mold. There is yet a season with dragons returning. The fires yet burning shall lift to the skies. There must be a reason to seek the horizons, to sail for the islands with unclouded eyes. My sails are of iron, the sun is my shepherd, and I am the leopard, the lion, the beast. Alone at the tiller, I seek no more portage. The winds of an old rage shall yet drive me east. Yeah, I seek no more portage. Yeah, right. I have a sense of humor about it. You have to once in a while. This next to, I think, yeah, it's the next to last poem of my reading, is called Aureate, spelled Aureate. And it's from Selected Poems and Passions. I wrote it soon after arriving in Los Angeles, and I realized that I wasn't finding everything that I wanted, but I was finding a lot, and especially I was finding some incredible imagery, some incredible inspiration. And probably this is one of the 5 or 6 most quoted back to me poems by my readers. Usually when they're asking, what does this mean? And I go, what does it mean to you? Because you're not me, I'm not you. You know, what does it invoke in you? The essence of art is resonance. I can make the greatest drawing in the world of a ship, and if it looks exactly like a ship, it's at least very good craft. But if I make a drawing of a ship that kind of Picasso-esque, doesn't really look like a ship, but somebody looks at it and goes, wow, that reminds me of the ocean, that's art. That's resonance. That's what I seek. Not everybody seeks the same things. Not every artist, not every writer seeks the same things, but that's what I seek. Resonance. Emotional gut punch. So this is Aureate. I will not find what I'm looking for here among the shadow dancers and sunbathers. Hearts Aureate swim to the horizons or climb cliffs to seek their destinies in moments, frozen as they are. Breathless forms out and away from the rocks of despair to slice the air in a dart that acknowledges life is best tasted at terminal velocity, striking the glass sea that mirrors not for long the double-speed descent as hope and hopeless romantics dare to live and love and share and dream and fly and fall and rise and bend and rule a domain of the senses. 7 at my last count. Mounting the sandstone pedestals left by the spittle of God against the eroding sanctuaries of our immutable malleability. And when we break the surface tension of our own pretensions, we ride the shockwaves like perilous nightmares to the foothills of the precipice, practicing the perfecting pain that shall stain our legacies, whether we hide from it or not, caught on ourselves to coin effigies in words that make mockery of the currency of our barter. 7 sins forgiven, the 8th breaking the seal of blissful arrogance, and the water slips past your form as your momentum conquers the buoyancy of swimmers in the sea of life, and the force of your entry takes you deep past where the children sleep, into the depths where the sun of forced gaiety does not penetrate, towards the oblivion of knowledge. Now, that's one of the poems that people come at me over because I don't rewrite poems. I write a poem, one shot, and to me, poetry is like photography. If I take a picture of something and it's not exactly what I wanted to see, I throw it out. Now, I may retain 1 or 2 words or a sentence or an image out of it, but every poem in every one of my books is a first draft. I changed 1 word in 1 poem once, a poem that I wrote in 1975, and I hated it. And I promised myself I'd never do that again. I would throw out poems if they weren't perfect, if they didn't capture the snapshot moment, that flash of lightning. And so when you read something like that with all the big jumbled words, it's kind of amazing. It was a first cut. Yes, I'm a freak. I know. The final poem for my reading tonight, before I drive you all insane with my babbling, is called Atacama. Atacama is a desert in Chile that's known as the driest place on Earth that is not a polar region. It is unbelievably dry, unbelievably hostile to life, and yet some things still live there. And no, this does not appear in any of my books. I wrote it 4 or 5 years ago, and I saw a photo of Atacama, and I went, I got to write something about that. And about 3 days later, it spit out from my preconscious. So here it is. I have seen what the indifference of the natural order to life can do to the mortal species. Transversely, what mortals can do by their indifference to this tiny speck of a planet and others. I have seen with unclouded eyes and promises of malleable metal, forged instruments of the heartless and hopeless, as used to dig holes for horticulture or minefields. The past is never truly abandoned. The scars remain, cut into mind and heart and flesh and histories, twisted but persisting, gangrenous distortions of the tortured perceptions laid foundation. Tomorrow is, indeed, another day, and we say our platitudes, forgetting that a quote is but a tattoo on the tongue. The dung decomposes as gathered by beetles, in instinct, to make it through to another generation. There will be other visions and divisions and circumcisions out of habit and tribalism. We are all the colors of this limited melanistic palette. painted in false distinction to lull ourselves. The night approaches and passes and comes again. The thief comes in the night, as does the paramour. I believe in life and love and hope and God, but babies and old people still die. Mourners wail and cry. The essence of love is understanding, and when such is impossible within our limited wisdom, it is time for acceptance that the desert remains harsh and beautiful as an indifferent lover. I have seen with perfect vision the sun rise, both the deadly and beautiful. A snap of the fingers does not change the pain. Over the next dune, we may yet see the rivers. And that's it. That's my attempt to make you insane tonight. So thank you very much for tolerating me. Nobody threw a brick. Nobody called me a horrible name that I saw. And I really appreciate the audience.